In 17th century Japan, inhabitants of the hillside village of Handayama in Shizuoka prefecture noticed that its citizens were disappearing at an unnerving frequency. Village officials formed a search party, and upon finding a torn piece of cloth in a nearby forest, they decided to venture further up the hill in the hopes of finding their missing people. Hours later, they came across a small dwelling, isolated away from all others nearby. An eerie little shack with no signs of life. One of the men approached the entrance and cautiously pulled back the curtain to look inside. He was met with the stench of death and the sight of human bones and entrails. A large pot sat cold on black coals, and in the corner, a blind old lady cowered with fear. She was easily restrained and taken back to the village for trial. As no one could understand how someone so old and frail managed to abduct and murder the villagers, she was accused of being a witch and would be tried as such. A sack was tied over her head, a large stone tethered to her feet, and she was then thrown into the river to determine her fate. If she floated, she was to be deemed guilty and would be executed. If she sank, she would be declared innocent. The villagers watched for several minutes, and during this time there was no sign at all that the old lady was going to resurface. Satisfied that she was not a witch, they proceeded to pull her back up, only to find that the end of the rope was empty. She had vanished, without a trace. Several peaceful years would go by before one day, when a farmer sighted what he thought was the old lady with the bag still on her head on a hill in the distance. He ran to tell the other villagers, who all said he was going senile and to stop trying to attract attention. He swore by what he saw though, and warned all of them to take heed. Later that week, a villager went missing. It appeared that somehow the old lady had survived the trial and had returned to abduct more villagers as they slept. She was labeled Handayama-Sama, and for decades to come, the village lived in fear of her returning to kidnap more of its citizens. 5 more villagers would go missing over this time, and all without a trace. And then, the sightings of Handayama-Sama stopped for over 200 years. That was, until just recently, in modern-day Handayama. A group of children were playing together at Handataki Park when a poorly timed throw sent their ball into the bushes nearby. A little girl ran over to retrieve it, and when she did so, she found Handayama-Sama standing motionless in the bushes, with the ball at her feet. The little girl stood frozen with fear, knowing exactly what she was looking at. She knew the tale well. Her parents would often use it as a threat, telling her to behave, or Handayama-Sama would come to take her away. There were several other reported sightings that day, with the police disregarding many of them as a hoax. What was certain, though, was that the little girl did not come home that afternoon, and had disappeared, without a trace. Her body was never found, and Handayama-Sama has not been seen since, but it's only a matter of time until she returns to continue to terrorize the residents of Handayama.